at him. This is sad case, y'all. He getting his stuff. Look at that. Sad case as a father.
Okay, Jeremy, what is the conversation you want to have?
We good.
Yeah, and your baby in the room.
What is the conversation you want to have?
We good. Give me my phone, bro. Don't
What is the conversation you want to have?
What's the conversation?
Get out my
He
phone.
said, what's the conversation?
Don't touch me. I'll call the police over here. Do not touch me.
He said, what's the conversation y'all want to have?
Get out me.
What's the conversation you want to have?
I'm finna send that over here. She touched me, please. Get out
Ain't nobody touching you.
I'm gonna send my cousin over here. Do not touch me, bro.
One gunshot. That's all it took to end Jeremy Brown's life while thousands watched on Facebook Live. But this wasn't a random act of violence. This was calculated. March 25th, 2023 started like any other Saturday morning in Columbus, Mississippi. By 7:42 a.m., Jeremy Brown was dead on his apartment floor, his wife Kadeja standing over him with a smoking gun. And their terrified child screaming for help. The most chilling part, she live streamed the entire thing. This is how a domestic argument became a public execution. Before we dive into that horrific morning, you need to understand who these people really were, because what happened wasn't some sudden explosion of rage. It was the inevitable conclusion of a relationship that had been rotting from the inside for years. Jeremy Brown was 28 years old when he died. Born and raised in Mississippi, he was the kind of man who showed up when people needed him. Friends described him as funny, reliable, always ready with a joke when times got tough. He worked as a manager at National Sale and Lease, had worked his way up over the years. Nothing flashy, but steady. The kind of job that pays the bills and keeps food on the table. Jeremy loved music, old school R&B, southern hip-hop blasting from his car windows on weekends. He loved grilling, turning any Saturday into a cookout if you gave him half a chance. Most importantly, he was a father. Those who saw him with his child said he was present, protective. Fatherhood gave his life meaning in ways that work never could. But Jeremy had a problem, a big problem, and her name was Kadeja Brown. Kadeja wasn't just any woman. She was dangerous in ways that most people never recognized until it was too late. 28 years old, born and raised in the same Mississippi communities as Jeremy. But where he was calm, she was explosive. Where he tried to keep peace, she demanded confrontation. As a mother, Kadeja was fiercely protective of her child. That sounds admirable until you realize that same fierce protection could turn into deadly possession when it came to the people in her life. She didn't just love, she controlled. She didn't just care, she consumed. Kadeja had aspirations beyond motherhood. She took classes, worked various jobs, talked about building something stable. But there was always something else lurking underneath, a need to be the center of attention, a compulsion to broadcast her life, her thoughts, her rage to anyone who would listen. On social media, Kadeja was raw, unfiltered, and relentless.
He won't let me finish. All right, before we get this, Jimmy. Happy birthday to you.
She said what she felt without caring about consequences. That openness earned her followers, but it also revealed something troubling. This was a woman who couldn't keep her private battles private. Everything had to be public. Everything had to be performed. Friends described Kadeja as loyal to those she trusted, but vicious to anyone who crossed her. She could go from playful to furious in seconds. Most dangerously, she had a complicated relationship with control.
Give me my phone, bro. Don't snatch
What is the
move.
conversation you want to have?
What the conversation?
Get out my
He
phone.
said, what's the
Don't touch
conversation?
me. Don't touch me. I'll call the police over here. Do not touch me.
He said, what's the conversation y'all want to have?
When she felt that control slipping away, when her sense of security felt threatened, she didn't respond with conversation or compromise. She responded with violence. If this case grabs you, hit the like button, share your take in the comments, and tap subscribe with the bell so you never miss the next episode of Deranged Women. Jeremy and Kadeja's story didn't start with hatred. It started in middle school. Two kids who grew up knowing each other, trusting each other, sharing the same hallways and the same dreams. By high school, friendship had grown into something deeper. To outsiders, it looked like the perfect foundation for lasting love. Two people who truly knew each other. In 2017, they made it official. Then parenthood. There were good times, birthday parties, holidays, simple nights watching movies together. Their social media painted the picture of a young couple making it work. Photos showed smiles, shared milestones, messages of love and affection. To the public eye, they were a team. Two people who had grown up together and were now raising a child, chasing stability, doing their best with what life handed them. But social media? Lies. And the reality behind those smiling photos was much darker. According to Lowndes County Sheriff Eddie Hawkins, there was a documented history of domestic violence between Jeremy and Kadeja. Both had previous records. This wasn't a couple having their first fight. This was a pattern that had been building for years. Arguments that escalated, accusations that turned physical, a cycle of tension and temporary peace that kept repeating, getting worse each time. The warning signs were everywhere, but nobody seemed to know how to stop what was coming. Jeremy tried to be the calm one, the peacekeeper, but you can't make peace with someone who thrives on conflict. You can't reason with someone who sees every disagreement as a war to be won. And Kadeja Brown was definitely the type of woman who had to win, no matter what it cost. The cracks in Jeremy and Kadeja's marriage weren't hairline fractures that appeared overnight. They were deep, jagged wounds that had been splitting wider for months before that March morning. And like most toxic relationships, the violence wasn't constant. It came in waves, each one bigger than the last. Friends who knew them both started noticing changes around 2022. Jeremy seemed tired more often, quieter during gatherings. The man who used to light up every cookout with his jokes and stories had become someone who checked his phone constantly, always looking over his shoulder. When people asked if everything was okay at home, he'd just smile and change the subject. That should have been the first red flag. Kadeja's behavior on social media became increasingly erratic during this same period. Her posts went from typical family updates to angry rants about loyalty, betrayal, and people who couldn't be trusted. She'd delete posts hours after putting them up, then repost similar content days later. Her friends started walking on eggshells around her, never knowing which version of Kadeja they'd encounter. The police reports from this time period tell their own story. Domestic disturbance calls to their Green Tree Drive apartment became a regular occurrence. Neighbors heard shouting matches that lasted for hours. Sometimes Jeremy would leave in his car, driving around until things cooled down. Other times, Kadeja would pack up their child and disappear for days at her mother's house. Each incident followed the same pattern: accusation, escalation, explosion, then temporary calm. Jeremy would try to smooth things over. Kadeja would promise it wouldn't happen again. They'd post happy photos together within a week, acting like nothing had ever gone wrong. But the people closest to them knew better. The fights always centered around the same themes. Kadeja was convinced Jeremy was cheating. She'd go through his phone, his social media accounts, even his work emails. She'd show up at his job unannounced, claiming she was bringing him lunch, but really checking to see who he was talking to. Jeremy's co-workers started to notice the tension, the way he'd tense up whenever his phone rang during work hours. Jeremy's family tried to intervene more than once. His mother sat him down during a family barbecue in the summer of 2022, asking him directly if he was safe at home. Jeremy laughed it off, said married couples fight sometimes, that Kadeja just had a strong personality. But his mother noticed he never brought Kadeja around anymore. Family gatherings became just Jeremy and their child, with excuses about why Kadeja couldn't make it. The financial pressure didn't help matters. Jeremy was working long hours trying to keep up with bills, while Kadeja struggled to find stable employment. Money fights became a weekly occurrence. She'd accuse him of hiding money, of not giving her enough control over their finances. He'd counter that she spent too much, that they needed to budget better. By early 2023, people who knew them both were starting to worry, not just about their marriage, but about what might happen if things kept escalating. Kadeja's mother had moved in with them temporarily, which only added more tension to an already explosive situation.
Over here trying to cook something to eat.
Instead of trying to...
Why is there got to be a question about, do I need to cook for the kids?
3 adults, 1 child, and years of unresolved anger all packed into a small apartment. The breaking point came in the weeks leading up to March 25th. Jeremy had started working extra shifts, partly for the money, but mostly to avoid being home. Kadeja interpreted this as confirmation of her worst fears, that he was cheating, that he was planning to leave her, that she was losing control of the situation. Her social media posts during this time became increasingly unhinged. She'd post cryptic messages about betrayal at 2 a.m., then delete them before dawn. She started making veiled threats about people who crossed her, about men who thought they could play games with the wrong woman. Looking back, these posts read like a countdown to disaster. Jeremy's final mistake was thinking he could handle Kadeja on his own. He never reached out to domestic violence resources, never asked his family for help in any concrete way, never took the threat seriously enough to develop a safety plan. Like many men in abusive relationships, he thought he could manage the situation, de-escalate when needed, keep the peace long enough for things to get better. But Kadeja Brown wasn't interested in getting better. She was interested in winning, and in her mind, winning meant making sure Jeremy could never leave her, never embarrass her, never make her feel powerless again. The stage was set. All they needed was the right morning, the right argument, and the right audience. Saturday morning, March 25th, 2023, Green Tree Drive in Columbus, Mississippi. Most of the apartment complex was still quiet, people sleeping in on the weekend or moving slowly through their morning routines. Inside the Browns' unit, the tension from the night before hadn't disappeared. It had been building, waiting for the right spark. Jeremy was getting ready for work. Even on Saturdays, he had responsibilities, people counting on him to show up. He moved through the apartment quietly, trying not to wake anyone, hoping to slip out before the arguments could start again. But Kadeja was already awake. She'd probably been awake most of the night, her mind racing with the same thoughts that had been consuming her for weeks. Around 6 a.m., she made her first move. Not with words or confrontation, but with her phone. She opened Facebook and started typing. The first posts were about Jeremy's alleged infidelity, screenshots of conversations that she claimed proved he was cheating. Then came the accusations about his sexuality, public humiliation, designed to hurt him in ways that private arguments couldn't. These weren't random angry posts. They were calculated attacks meant to destroy Jeremy's reputation, his relationships, his standing in their community. Kadeja knew exactly what she was doing. She was building a public case against Jeremy, creating a narrative that would justify whatever came next. By 7 a.m., Jeremy was aware of what she'd posted. Friends and family members were already calling and texting, asking what was going on. Jeremy tried to get Kadeja to take the posts down, tried to reason with her about how this was affecting their child, their families, his job. But reasoning with Kadeja had never worked before. It wasn't about to work now. That's when she made the decision that would change everything. She opened Facebook again, but this time she didn't just type. She hit the button for Facebook Live. Whatever was about to happen, she wanted the world to see it. She wanted witnesses. She wanted an audience for what she was planning to do.
Yeah, people want to have something to say, but he ain't here with his kids. He ain't helping. He left at 6:06 to go be with his mama.
If he only his mama kid instead of over here trying to cook something to eat.
Instead of trying to.
Why is there got to be a question about do I need to cook for the kids? Why is there a question?
And he don't never have to question. He don't want to question everybody's loyalty. But where is his loyalty at?
I ain't saying no damn loyalty. I'm talking about.
But he want to talk about me what I am not doing. He want to talk about me what I'm not doing.
You want to talk about unnecessary?
Talk about unnecessary. Then he talking about calling the police. Talk about I'm gonna get my stuff. But you got 4 kids and a wife. It's 7:36. He can't even be.
He can't even come here and cook for these kids.
He can't even come here cook for the kids.
He got to be at work at 8 o'clock.
Nah, matter of fact, he got to be at work at 9.
Okay, well he still got time to cook for these kids.
And then he got to go pick up his. He got to go pick up his buddy from his job, Law.
Well, he need to tell Long he need to get his mama car and go to work.
He pick up his buddy Law, take him to work back and forth every day.
I ain't got nothing to
But
do
then-
nobody helping nobody, but if Long
But he can't put gas in both cars.
That's what I'm saying. If Long ain't getting him no gas money to go to work, talking about people got stuff. Okay, he wanna put it like that? Oh, I got stuff to do too. I'm over here. I got stuff to do too. I'm over here. I'm over here cooking breakfast.
Get out,
Like I
move,
said,
don't.
this-
Yeah, what you on the phone with?
Uncle, bro, boom. I'm talking about Uncle. Chill out.
I'm over here. I'm doing.
No, you ain't trying to get ready for work. Look at him. This is sad case, y'all. He getting his stuff. Look at that. Sad case as a father.
Okay, Jeremy, what is the conversation you want to have?
We good.
Yeah, and your baby in the room.
Conversation you want to have?
We good. If I'm, give me my phone, bro. Don't snatch
What is the
move.
conversation you want to have?
What the conversation?
Get out my
He said,
phone.
what's the
Don't touch
conversation?
me. Don't touch me. I'll call the police over here. Don't do not touch me.
He said, what's the conversation y'all want to have?
Move. Get out of me.
What's the conversation you want to have?
I'm finna send in. Don't get you touch me, please. Get out of
Ain't
me.
nobody touching.
I'm
I'm gonna send my cousin over here. Do not touch me,
Don't
bro.
call nobody over here.
Oh,
What is
baby,
the conversation?
tell your daughter to keep her hands on
What
me.
is the
Tell your
conversation?
daughter to keep her hands on me.
You the one slap me. You the one slap me. Hit me now. Hit me now.
Keep your hands on me.
What's up, I'm still asking what is the conversation?
Oh man, that's what I'm finna do. I'm finna get out. I ain't really trying to argue at all. I'm just trying to get my...
Nah, you want to go tell your family about this, about that. You want to do this.
I'm trying to leave from over here and pee, man. I ain't trying to argue at all.
Ain't nobody.
Let me take my car key off.
Yo, my key.
Stop. What is the conversation?
Nah, what's the conversation?
Stop, bro.
What's the conversation?
Keep your hands on.
What's the conversation?
Keep your hands on. Don't touch me, bro.
What's the conversation?
Move, bro. I'm trying to get ready for work, man. Go on.
How you getting ready for work?
What is going on? That's all I'm here. I'm over here doing. Talking about I don't do nothing for the kids. I don't do nothing. I do what I can when I can.
understand.
But like I said, don't keep putting me in situations that's not my problem. And then, like I said, this is your family. You supposed to be here helping take care of
He ain't
these
straight.
kids.
He want
No, you're not good because you're not here taking care of these kids.
He wanna go call everybody.
Keep your hands on me, bro. Don't touch me again.
Touch you.
Jason, send that over here. We'll make it easy. Send that over here. I'm gonna do it just like that. Send that over here.
Ain't nobody finna come over here and do nothing.
Get your hands on me, bro. Stop touching me. Move.
Jesus, stop.
Send that over here, Jason.
Ain't nobody coming over here.
On me, bro. Sit down. Get your motherfucking hands on me, bro. Stop touching me, bro.
Stop.
Stop touching me.
I'm gonna kill you. Murder scene,
Stop
murder.
touching me again.
Stop.
Let go. Touch me. Touch me again.
Ain't
Touch me a motherfucking again.
Stop
Touch me
pushing me.
again.
Ain't nobody finna do
Don't go to put my gun
that.
out
Ain't
on me.
nobody finna do nothing.
Open the car, police,
Stop.
tell me you got to go.
Ain't
Don't worry
nobody.
about it.
Stop.
Don't worry about it. Touch
Stop.
me again. Touch me again.
Stop. Yeah.
Touch me again.
Yeah. Stop. Yeah,
Touch me
bitch.
again.
Stop. Stop. I'm not open here for this.
Motherfucker gonna keep her
I
hands
kill
on me,
your
bro.
ass night, bitch. Stop. Nobody, I can get out my bed for this.
Man, people so
Stop.
selfish, man. Now I lose my shoes on me.
Oh, you ain't getting nothing. Everything in the top belong to me. Stop. Get somewhere and sit down. Y'all gonna have to stop all this. Cause then y'all wonder why the kids.
Bang. One gunshot. Clean, decisive, final. The screaming started immediately.
Why the kids.
Not just Kadeja's voice, but their child. Kadeja's voice, clear and unmistakable. Your daddy's dead. Not daddy's hurt. Not call for help. Your daddy's dead. Said to their child like she was announcing the weather. The live stream ended shortly after, but the damage was done. Jeremy Brown, 28 years old, father, son, manager at National Sale and Lease, was dead on his apartment floor, and his wife had made sure thousands of people watched it happen. Within minutes of the gunshot, 911 calls started flooding in. People who had watched the live stream, neighbors who heard the shot, anyone who realized they had just witnessed a murder in real time. By 7:42 a.m., deputies from the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office were racing toward Green Tree Drive. They arrived to find exactly what the Facebook Live audience had heard. Jeremy Brown dead from a single gunshot wound, a 9mm handgun on the scene. Kadeja Brown still in the apartment, not running, not hiding, not even attempting to claim self-defense. She was arrested without incident. The investigation was straightforward because the crime had been broadcast live. Thousands of witnesses, clear audio, digital evidence that couldn't be disputed or explained away. Investigators didn't need to reconstruct what happened. They had video proof. Physical evidence confirmed what everyone already knew. One gunshot, close range. Jeremy had been trying to leave when Kadeja pulled the trigger. The forensics matched the testimony of every single person who had watched that live stream. Kadeja Michelle Brown was charged with murder and held without bond at the Lowndes County Adult Detention Center. The case against her was airtight. She had live-streamed her own crime, creating an evidence trail that no defense attorney could overcome. By summer 2023, a Lowndes County grand jury indicted Kadeja Brown for murder. The prosecution's case was devastating because it was simple. They played clips from the Facebook Live video in court. They presented the social media posts from that morning showing premeditation. They laid out a timeline that proved this wasn't passion or self-defense. It was execution. The defense tried to paint Kadeja as a woman pushed to her breaking point, claiming years of emotional abuse and infidelity had caused a psychological breakdown. They argued for manslaughter instead of murder, hoping to reduce the charges by claiming diminished capacity. But the evidence was overwhelming. The live stream showed Jeremy trying to leave, trying to de-escalate, begging to just go to work. It showed Kadeja pursuing him, blocking his exit, creating the confrontation that led to his death. Most damning of all, it captured her words afterward. Not the response of someone who had accidentally killed in self-defense, but someone who had accomplished exactly what she intended. Facing the weight of evidence and probably understanding that no jury would acquit her after watching that video, Kadeja Brown made a decision. She pled guilty to second-degree murder, accepting responsibility without forcing Jeremy's family to endure a lengthy trial. In May 2024, she was sentenced to 40 years in prison. She'll serve 34 years behind bars, with the remaining 6 under supervised release. The judge's words were measured but clear. This was a senseless act of violence that destroyed multiple lives and traumatized everyone who witnessed it. There were no dramatic courtroom outbursts, no final speeches, no attempts to justify what she had done. Just the sound of the sentence being read and the knowledge that Jeremy Brown's life had been worth exactly 40 years of Kadeja's freedom. The Jeremy Brown murder didn't just shock Columbus, Mississippi. It sent ripples across the entire country. Within hours of that live stream ending, the video had been shared thousands of times, viewed by millions, dissected by true crime communities and domestic violence advocates alike. Local residents struggled to process what had happened in their quiet community. Jeremy wasn't just a statistic. He was the guy who'd help you jump your car battery, who'd wave from his apartment balcony, who'd make small talk at the grocery store. People who had never thought much about domestic violence suddenly found themselves confronting the reality that it could happen anywhere to anyone. The Columbus community rallied around Jeremy's family, organizing fundraisers for his child's future education and providing emotional support during the most difficult time of their lives. Local churches held prayer vigils, not just for Jeremy's soul, but for healing in a community that had been traumatized by witnessing such public violence. Kadeja's family faced a different kind of hell. They mourned not just the loss of the woman they once knew, but the destruction she had caused. The case sparked difficult conversations about the role of social media in domestic violence. Experts pointed out that Kadeja's decision to livestream the murder wasn't random. It was part of a pattern of using public platforms to control and humiliate Jeremy. Her Facebook posts that morning weren't just angry rants. They were psychological warfare designed to destroy Jeremy's reputation before she destroyed his life. Mental health advocates used the case to highlight the warning signs that had been ignored: Kadeja's erratic social media behavior, the documented history of domestic violence calls, Jeremy's increasing isolation from friends and family, all textbook indicators of an abusive relationship heading toward a deadly conclusion. Law enforcement agencies across Mississippi began reviewing their protocols for responding to repeated domestic violence calls. The Browns had been on police radar for months, but the system had failed to recognize the escalating danger Jeremy faced. His memory lives on in the child he left behind and the family members who refused to let his death be meaningless. But perhaps the most important lesson from this tragedy is the simplest one. If you see someone you care about trapped in an abusive relationship, don't wait for them to ask for help. Don't assume they can handle it on their own. Don't convince yourself that it's not your business or that things will get better on their own, because sometimes, by the time someone is ready to ask for help, it's already too late.